Welcome to DevPro CB's first introduction to the Windows Developer Preview Edition. I hope you guys enjoy the actual tutorial. It's pretty in-depth for the features that are included with Windows 8 and what will actually change in the future. To give you some background, we have the install on a VMware install. Has about 3 gigs of RAM associated to it. We feel that's pretty good, but it ran actually really well on an Acer W500 with 2 gigabytes of RAM, and obviously a tablet's just not as powerful. And the load up time, as you can see, for the VMware it's a little bit longer, but it doesn't take that long either. On the W500 Acer though, it only took about literally 5 seconds to load up from the boot screen all the way up to the screen that you see now on the screen itself. We go ahead and put the VMware in exclusive mode so we can't leave the actual screen. It doesn't mess up the video. Alright, so the first thing we see when we first introduce ourselves to Windows 8 is the Start menu itself. It's pretty standard. To give you some background, you will be able to add apps and updates to the Start screen and so forth. You also notice it's doubles as a lock screen as well. This background image you can change, and we'll get into that a little bit later as time goes on. So let's go ahead and open that up. To log in, we're going to use the password 12345, and we'll go ahead and start up the entire process. So it is our demonstration PC for you. Okay. And one of the first things you notice is that you actually load up to the Start menu. The Start menu, very important now, just because it's really providing an easy access level to users that are not familiar with Windows operating systems or the more advanced features. And the desktop, even though it has been simplified over the many years that Microsoft has been around, back from DOS days, it's definitely still been a little bit cumbersome for people to get and navigate around. The Start menu provides that touch interface that everybody likes, that Apple made popular when they came out with their iPad, and it seems like this was a great interface to go with for people that are not really familiar. Windows has done well in the younger crowds and mid-age groups. When it comes to the older aged groups, it was really hard for them to get into a computer. It was really complicated. And one of the main reasons why Apple became popular is because they were able to get ahead and involve all age groups into the operating system itself because they advertised as being easy. Well, Windows 8 is changing that. They're going to be an easy operating system, and the Start menu is that main focus. I'm going to say that 98% of the things that you will do on your computer on a daily basis with Windows 8 will be through the Start menu itself, unless you need to go into something more advanced where many users won't have to go ahead and do that. I do feel bad for some of the tech agents that do technical support, because Windows 8 is going to be hard to troubleshoot just because they take away a lot of that power usage that was easy for them to navigate initially when walking people through over the phone. Let's get into the actual Windows 8 itself. So we're going to go over some basics on what you can do with the actual application, the operating system. So the first thing you notice is the live tiles, made famous by the Windows 7 phone. Definitely a great hit with people because it gives you instant information, no need to actually load the application up. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is then we're going to load up our news application. We're going to go ahead and load up our stocks application, and we're going to go ahead and load up our weather application. Okay, so now these 3 applications have now been loaded into the operating system. They're background processes now, but they're handled much differently than they were in Windows 7. Since it's an application similar to a widget, what ends up happening when you lose focus to this widget, the system will actually suspend that application. It doesn't take up any system resources at all. So even if you're on a tablet PC, if you have 10, 15 apps open, it suspends every one of them and brings them back to life when you go back to it. So the other neat nifty feature is when you see here, you go to the left. You see here you have this picture going up and down across the screen itself. It's actually a quick task changer. So let's say you want to get and go to your weather app. You can go ahead and do that. You just drag it over or click it, and it loads it up. Nice thing about it is, let's say we go to the left portion of the screen, and we're using a mouse and keyboard for this demonstration, just so that you're aware. But it's out of the box. Windows 8 is a full touchscreen interface. So if you have a tablet like the W500 from Acer, then you're good to go. You have tablet capabilities right out of the box with Windows 8. But with a mouse, you can actually scroll through the different applications that were previously open. So for example, we opened up the News app. Again, drag that out. See that here? We can drag it out, open it up, and it should load our news headlines, which it's not. Let's go ahead and refresh and see what that does. There we go. Okay, great. So loads up the, well, was not expecting that, but there it is. So we're going to go ahead and load up the News app, and you can see it pulls RSS feeds, even with the pictures that are associated to those specific feeds as well. So definitely a great news application. And one of the nice things is, let's say if we want to get and open up two apps at once, you can do that. You can interact with both apps at the same time. What you do is you bring it out to the middle, and then you can either bring it to the left or to the right, and then let go of your mouse click, and it actually loads that option in live view. Some of these apps will go into a pause level, depending on, say, if you're playing a game, they'll automatically pause over when they're in the right side or not in focus. All you do to change the focus is bring that middle bar over, and now you can have the stocks options available to you, or you can still utilize the left app as available here. And you can see it still brings up all the new apps and so forth. It gives you a tidbit of information you can scroll through. And it's a live application, so it's fully loaded, fully blown. Okay? And the other nice thing, let's go ahead and close out the News app. Let's say we go ahead and we want to watch the Ford stock. We want to see how Ford is doing. You know, they had a bad couple of days, and all of a sudden they're spiking up. We want to make sure we can go ahead and track that. So again, right-click with your mouse click. You can go ahead and pin the stock to your start menu. Like I said, everything is about the start menu. So you actually pin that to the start menu. Go back to the start menu. Go ahead and scroll right, because everything goes to the right itself. Actually, I dropped it here in the lower section today. So you'll notice here now Ford is the only thing available here. So it's only going to update the Ford ticker stock for this. So you can get and move this around if you wanted to, and so forth. You can also create a new row. So a lot of nifty things you can do with the pin to start. You also have your weather app, which is great. Windows does a great job in actually introducing these new apps. One of the nice things about the weather app is it actually updates to the basis of what exactly is going on with the weather itself. So it's a partly cloudy day. It's sunny here in Virginia Beach, so we can see that in the back. And then in New York, same exact thing. It's partly cloudy, but we go to London. Okay. It's 5:42 p.m. right now, so it's going to head and it's going to be dark. So it upgrades the background to replicate what is going on in your particular area. So again, remove that real quick. Right-click again. Remove the city. Okay. Let's say we're going to get into a summary view of all the different cities we may be visiting today. If we're on a business trip, we can view all three. Okay. You can also do an hourly, and it shows you the hourly. So then we can go ahead and throw back. Hey, let's go back to our stock options, see how that's going. Ford stock is hugely doing well. It just updated instantly for you, so you can see how well everything is going on. Back to the start menu. Very simple, very fast, as you can see. And then you also have some other great apps. For example, Memories, your life book. We're not going to go too far into it because it's pretty advanced, but basically it is a scrapbook of everything going on. You add pictures, install pictures, you know, you want to track, you know, how your daughter's been doing every single day, or your son. You can go ahead and actually do that for you. So it's a nice, neat interface for you to go ahead and interact with when dealing with things overall. And Windows has pre-stocked all this, so this is all pre-stocked with Windows 8. You can see it's fairly responsive, even with it being under VMware. So you imagine if it's actually attached to the hardware of the computer itself, much more streamlined overall. Another nifty thing is that you can still use your arrow type of peek. So you can still do Command Tab, and you can switch between all the open apps that you currently have. Okay? Back to the start menu. Now we haven't really covered the desktop. And we will cover the desktop in a moment, but there's some things I want to get and show you about the things that have changed. First is Internet Explorer. There are two versions of Internet Explorer in Windows 8. The first version is the touch type of interface, it lacks actually Adobe Flash, which is quite surprising to many because Adobe's always been on a desktop PC. It's not to say that it's not on there, it's just not on the touch interface of the Internet Explorer through the Start menu itself. That's to provide performance as well as stability while viewing pages in full screen. So let's go ahead and go to Vevo.com, which is a popular Flash video player for music, and we'll go ahead and load up a song. So all of the JavaScript and the HTML and the CSS is all functioning correctly, but when we go ahead and go, let's say we click Maroon 5, we actually go to play the video, we can't actually play the video. Let's say you want to watch the video. All you need to do, let's say we're in full screen mode, there's no options, you right click the browser, because there is no right click option either in Internet Explorer. It's strictly a one-click interface, no need to right click because you're not trying to do anything too advanced. And that's what the Start menu really is for, and that's why Internet Explorer is placed here as well, is they want simplicity. The right click options for many people are just too confusing, provide too many options for somebody to mess up something. So right click, what it does is it brings up these interactive menus. So you can go ahead and add a new tab, close the tab out, but what you can also do is click this button here, and it says use desktop view. When you click that, it brings you to the desktop itself with the same exact URL, loads it up, and you actually get your Flash capabilities at this point. So now you can see that Vevo is going to play in its entirety, like you would at any point in time. You can lower that. And now it's playing a full Flash video. So all the capabilities are still there, so the power users will really use the desktop, but for the users that are not really into anything power-wise, they're going to go ahead and use the Start menu options that have simplified all those processes. So Windows has done a great job at targeting both groups perfectly. So you have the people that just don't care about their operating system, they just want it to be simple and work. That's what the Start menu is for. And probably I'd say 80 to 90% of the users that will use Windows will not go stray of the Start menu itself unless they need to, as per like tech support or something like that. But you can see the video is playing in full screen. Close that out. Right? Now you can see even in the desktop menu that left screen is still available. So let's say we want to do that. I want to go back to that. I don't want to do the memories. I want to go back to stocks. I want to see stocks again. And once again, we can go back to the Start menu, or we can go back to the desktop and throw it back. Another nice feature is you can go ahead and have both running at the same time. So you can have your desktop and you can have your stock options running. So you really have a choice in how you want to go ahead and handle everything. So if you're really into checking and updating things, so for example, when there's a Facebook app available for this, you can have your Facebook statuses all updated here, constantly live. So you no longer have that Windows bar that used to be on the desktop. It's all live through apps now, and that's what the Windows Store is really going to be pushing for their developers to use. And I think a lot of developers are going to love this interface because it makes their app shine on not only the Windows operating system, but hopefully getting cross-brand over to the Windows 7 phone, so you have that interconnectivity. So to just close that, all you got to do is get and drag it off the screen. Okay. So now, the other thing we need to get and look at is how we truly interact with the Start menu. So for example, we pinned this Ford stock here. We want to get and make it smaller. We want to get and organize it. You can actually make it smaller. It doesn't update as much, but it will get and allow you to make it larger so you can get and get some updates. Now, the other major change that they've made was to the control panel itself. The control panel was one of the biggest changes they made, and it is beautiful. It is one of the best control panels Windows has ever designed for an operating system itself. Remember that start screen we first started off with the hey and so forth? You still have those options available to you. Let's say we want the sample picture. We can go ahead and choose the baby, load that up, and we're good to go. So now that could be our picture. So let's say we go ahead and go to our lock screen. Let's go ahead and lock the PC. Right? Locking the PC. Now you have a custom picture for your desktop to really get your custom PC feel on the PC itself. Alright, so the other things that you're going to notice is the apps that are available here, such as the piano. And the piano obviously been taken from some of the apps on the Apple Store, but I mean, who can blame you? Apple has done a great job in their process, and Windows is finally catching up and hoping to compete. But it's a full piano interface. It fully works. Allows you to play anything that you want. So you should be good to go with the ability to go ahead and actually mess with a lot of these apps. You have games that are included as well. So now we're going to go back into the control panel itself, and we're going to go ahead and show you the major changes in the control panel. So the first thing you're going to notice in the control panel is the nice interface, and we showed you personalize and how you can change the main screen itself. You can choose an app to display detailed statuses and so forth, and that'll go ahead and update on the main lock screen. So for example, with Facebook or Twitter, you'll get those updates on the lock screen without actually loading up the entire system. You can add your own picture, so we wanted to do that. If you want to get and go users, one of the things they're incorporating now is switch to Windows Live ID. This is important, and the reason for that is because you're going to be able to go ahead and literally sync all of your information. So a lot of people, they have some powerful PCs at home. You know, a lot of these gamers out there, a lot of people that are designers, programmers, you know, they want to be able to get and view their work or continue editing while even on the road. You know, a lot of people in New York, they take mass transit so they can get ahead and be on the train or the bus, continue editing, save it to the cloud, go to their job, and then bam, right there, all the edits are made. They can continue on with their work. Makes people much more productive. And that's exactly what Windows Live ID is going to be able to allow you to do, is continually stream or sync all of your information to all of your PCs. So really simplifying that process. And switching to your Windows Live ID now doesn't do much, but they will eventually incorporate the ability to go ahead and sync your data between devices. This computer doesn't have a wireless device, but when the wireless is attached, or if you have Bluetooth or GPS, you can actually put it into a airplane mode. Airplane mode will turn off the wireless. And one of the things we did notice was that Windows does a good job with managing the power. So with the Acer W500, it comes pre-installed with Windows 7. The average lifespan watching videos and doing wireless, we got about 4 or 5 hours out of the battery of the tablet itself. When wireless was on, when we installed Windows 8, we got almost 7 to 8 hours of actual battery life out of the device itself. When the airplane mode was on, where let's say we wanted to read a Nook book, using the Nook app that's available for download, you got almost 9 to 10 hours of battery life out of the device itself. So the power consumption on the operating system does a really good job at not utilizing resources as heavy as their previous operating systems. Notifications are basically when you update something or it downloads an application or a game has its new update. It'll actually indicate no matter where you are on your computer, what you're doing. It'll let you know that something new has happened. And you can change those notifications on or off. Privacy, and this is going to be important for a lot of people, especially if they lose their tab, if they have a tablet when they're using Windows 8, is you can actually change, you know, the history. So somebody, if they get onto your tablet or your computer, they can't go back and say, oh, you were viewing this? Wow, this is great. Or, you know, you can go ahead and set it where you can view 12 apps back. It's all up to you and how you want to do that. And you also have your privacy. The neat thing in the future is that obviously the tablets in the future will have GPS enabled, full Bluetooth built in, you know, you name it, whatever wireless capabilities are in it. They're going to use your location base, and that's exactly what it's going to do it for. So you're good to go on that. The general options is pretty straightforward, touch keyboard, so forth. Most important thing, and the reason we want to go to general, is the fact of refresh your PC without affecting your files and reset your PC and start over. Now, a lot of users had issues with performance over time. You know, you install applications, some applications slow down your computer, they start it up, and you don't know which ones were really affecting it. Well, if you refresh your PC, what it's doing is it's uninstalling those applications and then gives you a list of all the applications that it's uninstalled. And then each one you can individually reinstall to the operating system and find out if there's a performance problem with one of those applications. And very neat feature with Windows 8. Reset your PC and start over. like it states, if you're about to give it away, just go back to factory settings. It removes everything from it and just gives a standard PC as a standard boot up itself. The search function, great feature in the Windows 8 Start menu. Completely revamped, makes it really simple for people to search for things. You can turn off each one of the applications you don't want to search for. Share apps, where you want to actually share apps with other people. You can actually do that. You can send an app over. You can send it as well. Ease of access, self-explanatory, no different than the older ones. Devices is where you're going to get ahead and interact on how to add a device, whatever's on your home group network you can get ahead and see. Then you have home group itself. We've already set up the home group just to show an example of what it is, but we can go ahead and leave it. And let's say we want to create a new home group. Provides a new password, and everybody else in the home can go ahead and type the same password in with any PCs Windows 7 and above. So they can go ahead and integrate this really well. And that really simplifies sharing files, music, videos, and so forth. Windows Update. Now this option, all it does is let you know that there are updates available, but it doesn't actually let you install it. And that's where more settings will come into play. This is where the power users will really get a kick out of, because they still have their control panel options available. So you're going to have Windows Update here. This is actually where you still do your Windows Update for your computer, all the standard options. So everything desktop-wise will look exactly the same as Windows 7 did before. And that's it for the control panel itself. It doesn't do much else besides that from what you may be familiar with already. Now we're going to go into the desktop for a moment. We're going to show you one thing in the personalized menu. It's not available now in Windows 7, and that's Windows Extended. Windows Extended will actually allow you to do panoramic views now built into the operating system. So if you have 3 monitors, you know how each one of the monitors have the same picture, now you can go ahead and shoot a panoramic view across all 3 monitors without any issues. So that's one of the great personalization features they added that I personally like, because we have 3 monitors here set up for everything. Okay, and just so that you see the new Zune as well, we want to get and cover that. The Zune applications and all the applications will still function the same, and there are a couple other things we want to get and go into before we end this tutorial. But the Zune is also touch capable. A lot of people don't know that. You can go ahead and load up Zune. This is Microsoft's new product. This allows you to go ahead and actually look for music, sample it, and so forth. And what I like about it is that it's unlimited. It's not like the Apple Store. You have to buy a $1 song every time you want to do it. You have your sample songs. We're not going to sign into our account, but you can go ahead and sample a song if you wanted to when you sign in. Okay, but it is touch interface. It's a great interface. I think it's much better than the iTunes player itself. Now we want to get into the search feature of Windows itself. It's really important, and then we want to get into the task manager. Let's go to the search feature. Search feature loads up everything on your system. Every app, everything installed is all available within the search feature itself. Really neat feature, great for you to go ahead and utilize. But the other nice thing is, let's say we're going to go ahead and search for an image. Well, we have a baby image that obviously you've been seeing during this tutorial itself. We just downloaded from Google. You'll notice here we typed in baby, but nothing showed up for apps. That's because it organizes everything for you. You have apps, you have settings, and you have files. So under files, we actually see the baby, and it will load up a preview of that baby itself. We can go back to the start menu, and then go back to search, and we're good to go. So let's say we couldn't find our weather app. We have 100-something apps available. We have our app, and now you have the weather app, and bam, it loads the weather app very seamlessly for you. Let me go back to start. Okay, and let's say we're going to go in and go into the more advanced features. Some people used to like using MS-config. Whoop. MS-config, is it under an app or is it under setting? It's under an app now, because it is an application under Windows. Opens up MS-config, and you can go ahead and modify your system configuration. Same thing goes with anything else. So if you want to go ahead and search device manager, settings, device manager. Then it loads up the device manager itself. And you notice I did the search feature from the start menu from here as well as here as well. So now we want to go ahead and introduce you to the task manager. So we go to the desktop, right click, start task manager. This is a complete revamp of the old task manager itself. And you'll notice it keeps the applications we just opened and it's just suspended these two apps because they're not on the foreground and there's no use for them to be running right now because we're not even utilizing the start menu. So you can easily end the task. So we end the weather and we're good to go, and it gives you a full breakdown of CPU, memory, disk, and network. Then you have performance, so it lets you know, hey, this is the Ethernet, this is what it's using, disk space, memory, and CPU usage. Then you also have app history, all the apps that you've used and how much time that you've used them, and also lets you know how the tiles are doing in the update status. Remember I was telling you the live tiles. So this lets you know how much memory they were using when they were being utilized. And all the other same features, startup, this is what started up initially, and it says a high impact startup. It tells you what is slowing down your PC when it initially starts up, and it tells you, hey, you know, this is impacting your startup highly. It'd probably be best to get ahead and disable it. You can disable it right from the task manager. It also lets you know if the users are abusing the system, if you have 5 users logged on. You also have the full detail that you may be familiar with, but everything is organized and lets you know by color coding which systems are important and which systems you can get and disable. And you have your services, and you can go ahead and start the service or stop the service all from the task manager itself. Really simplified, really allows you to go ahead and do anything that you need to do. You can also do the update speeds and so forth. Now let's go ahead and just look at a couple of the apps that are pre-installed. You also have the performance monitor, forgot to mention that. That allows you to get and see performance over time. So this is another great feature that was added in Windows 7 that's following over in Windows 8. But a lot of people want to see the apps. Now Socialite was supposed to be a Facebook app. There is an issue with it because of Facebook. A lot of people are stating it's because of Microsoft. It's actually not. Surprisingly enough, it's because Facebook changed their app characters, excuse me, from 32 characters to 16 characters. So the app is actually failing now. They are in the process of fixing it and finding out what's actually going wrong with the update itself. But if we look up Socialite, it'll ask you to log in and do the sorts, no different than any other app when logging into Facebook. And you have Memories of Life book, we showed that earlier. You have flash cards, nice feature for the younger kids. If you want to get to hear this, it's a full-blown app. It's really nice.
One.
Okay, and then we can actually help the kid draw. So if they want to get and draw the number 1, they can go ahead and do that. Go to the number 2, draw the number 2. These are all pre-built in. This comes with the operating system itself.
2.
Okay, that's that app. And then you have the Tube Rider, you have Copper. This is the 3D, so we can get to see the 3D capabilities of the system itself. Okay, we're good to go on that. And if you actually hear in the background, the game is still going on. It's telling me that I have got 1 level unlocked and waiting to switch back. Now the question is how do I end it? How do I get that from stop playing? You know, do I open up a new app? Yes, it suspends it at that point. So you can open up a new app, or you can go into your task manager and end it here. And it's suspended, as you can see, when you open the new app. So a lot of great new features that have been associated to Windows itself. You still have PowerShell for your power users, so you can go ahead and still do some great commands. PowerShell was a godsend. So it is definitely a great interface for your power users, for the people that like working in the back end with the commands and so forth. ThinkPad, obviously, like I said, a lot of these things are going to be for your touch interface. You can get and clear this and do a whole bunch of nifty stuff with the app itself. But I think overall, Windows 8 has definitely got what we're looking for in an operating system. It really covers everything that we need to do with the operating system, and I think everybody that watched this video understands now that Windows 8 is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with when it comes out as a full public blown OS operating system. And the tablets that are coming out for this operating system in the next year or so are going to be amazing. They're going to blow away any of the tablets that are currently out, because the Windows operating system really has what it needs